You can't be serious, man. You cannot be serious!
Where do I get most of my information, Don, about our guests?
Wikipedia.
Well, on the Google...
I thought that was...
I'm sorry, I've got distracted. What is that?
Indiana Jones, isn't it?
I know this is... Oh,
unprofessional.
Wow.
Go on.
This is unprofessional because I'm about to introduce... Now, I'm reading this out. Kate Save is an accredited practicing dietitian, accredited exercise physiologist, and a diabetes educator. She has completed a double degree. There is a whole raft of stuff that this very eminent person in her profession has done, Don. Suffice to say that we've had a lot of interest in health and diet, and we're going to speak to Kate because she's a star. I know very little about her, but the beauty of these interviews is the more that we ask, the more we find out about the people, and I was recommended that we speak to her.
All more remarkable is she came from Tukarook. Did you realise that, John? Which is a town on
welcome,
the Mornington
Kate,
Peninsula.
You Cannot Be Serious. This will probably be the most disjointed and dysfunctional interview that you've ever had, but in the end we get there because we have a lot of listeners and they're vitally interested. They will be in what you've got to say because I know just a little about you. So go ahead, Don.
Well, I'm interested because Kate, we'll get onto the business side later, but what... maybe you could help me in this area because at the moment I've got horses now. I'm reading up and getting advice on the gut with regard to horses because we have taken and domesticated the horse, and you know what I'm starting to realise is that what goes in the gut, with regard to food and roughage and whatever else, has an effect upon the horse. Now, is this the same with regard to the human? Is the gut the second brain to the human, for the human?
Great comment. So yes, the gut is the second brain. They believe that you've actually got more neural connections in your gut than you do in your head. So the gut has the ability to communicate with the brain, but if you don't nourish the gut or it's got inflammation or you don't put the things it needs to heal itself in there, then it sends the wrong signals to the brain. So you can end up changing the brain's reality, the way it feels, the mood, how quickly it reacts by not nourishing the gut. So
in other words...
trust your gut.
Trust your gut, yes.
That's fantastic. I thought that was just a throwaway line.
Absolutely.
So trust your gut. It's got some backing to it.
It does.
That's fantastic.
Most people recognise when they don't trust their gut is when they make
what do you mean?
Really bad
you two young
decisions.
people better tell me what trust your
gut
means.
It's a saying, when you have a feeling in your gut, you trust your gut. You go with
Gut
it.
feeling.
Gut
you have
feeling.
a gut feeling,
Yeah.
Don.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I had to explain that.
Well, what I'm trying to get to, Kate, is the gut has an outcome, or is you can, I suppose, our well-being, but also what ADHD or depression, the way the brain. You're talking about the brain and whatever else.
Serotonin.
So it has an effect upon us in different areas that can be measured.
Absolutely. So the key thing is that if you're looking after your gut and you change this gut microbiome, so we know that the more variety of bugs in your gut, the more friendly bugs, the happier your brain. So you can change your mood. And there's been a study called the SMILE study by Professor Felice Jacka that looked at what people ate, and instead of using certain drugs, or she compared it to drugs for depression and anxiety, they were able to get a better outcome just by changing their diet, and that lifted their levels of happiness.
So could you put down things such as obesity, ADHD,
Oh, shit.
Could you put those things down to a gut to the gut as well? Do they have an influence?
They definitely have an influence. And I was talking to John earlier in the car today, and we are what we eat. If you think about the human body, every single minute you're making new cells. Your cells the ingredients for those cells are what you've eaten. So if you've put crap in, you'll get crap out. So your cell's integrity and your body in total is really 100% influenced by what you eat.
So what do you think? Okay, then, what do we eat? That's the next question.
Predominantly plant-based food. So I think the key is the more you can eat that comes from nature, the better. So I'm not a vegan or vegetarian or anything like that. I don't have any, things that I don't eat. But I believe if you eat 90% of the time intentionally, so you eat things that are going to improve your health, then the 10%, the rest of the time, it doesn't really matter. But if you are not consciously making decisions about what's going to increase your health span, then you're going to ultimately shorten your life.
So when you say natural foods, you just commented you're not a vegan or vegetarian. So your meat, like your lamb, your beef, your fish, that's all still very, very important. Doesn't have to be solely plant-based foods.
Absolutely. It's the variety because of the way that we live busy Western lifestyles. So the more plant-based matter that you have, the better, because we know the living cells are in it. And I've got this crazy theory about food that if you look at, say, a peach or an apple or a strawberry and you put it under a microscope, a small amount of it, everything on the slide moves so you can see it's alive. Whereas if you get a Cheerio or a cornflake and you put it under a microscope, nothing moves. Now, our human bodies, every single cell in our body is connected, it's alive, it's moving. So if you eat stuff that really under a microscope is inactive, it's not going to help us as living beings. So we need to be eating stuff that comes from nature, comes from plants, animals, those sorts of things.
Now, apologies, my father's been looking at his phone to ask an intelligent question, so here it comes. Go on.
What was that, Max?
You've just looked at your phone for the past 5 minutes in order to conjure up an intelligent question, so I'm just, go on. You looked prepped.
Kate, can I ask you another question?
Yes.
I've gone through you mentioned about society, the way it's going, and I can see when I do my shopping the pre-cooked meals that are there. Now, I tried this for a number of months and I found bodily function and well-being as a result, in my case, deteriorated. So I then went back to making an effort, preparing, cooking, buying fresh vegetables, and everything improved. Should there be some, or how do you judge what to buy if it's a pre-cooked meal, because those meals have got to last a period of time before they're thrown out, as against, and is society becoming lazy going for these type of things?
Really good question. So I guess at the end of the day, if you can eat a lot of variety, you can cook it, prepare it yourself, and you know what you're doing, or you've got a bit of an idea, then you're going to be better off. But for people that are time poor, I actually recommend frozen over fresh, because when you freeze something, you preserve the DNA of the food, you preserve the good bacteria in the food. There's no point eating chilled food that's 10 to 30 days old that has grown bacteria on it that's actually going to be poisonous and make you violently ill at some point if you eat it after its best before date. So if you get the frozen food, what that's done is it's picked, gathered, washed, prepped and snap frozen. It's actually locking in the highest nutrient content from when it was actually picked and delivered. So freezing doesn't gas the food, it doesn't change the nitrogen levels, it doesn't have bad bacteria on it. So frozen is often fresher, because you might be going to the supermarket and getting your fresh veggies that have sat on a truck for weeks, sat out the back for weeks. You've had them, got them off the shelf, thrown them in the bottom of the veggie drawer for a week. That's actually getting old. The nutrient levels change. So the frozen can be fresher.
Now, Don, taking Max up on his point, I'm just if you look up the social page or the social media pages of Kate here, it's extraordinary the number of topics that she covers and can be covered if we ask her the right things. But I just draw a mention that I know this is not a visual medium, but a man who looks like Ben Boyang has walked in, and he is an eminent doctor. He is from Mount Gambier. I've just realised who you are, Barney McCusker, and he's sitting there riveted to this, although he doesn't study diet. If you can have a look at the roof over his tool shed, you can see he doesn't study diet, but he is a orthopaedic surgeon, and he's fascinated by this. Now, we jumped ahead, Don, because you got onto horse's gut immediately, because horses are the only thing you know anything about. And haven't quite established who Kate is and where she came from and how she got to be where she is, because she is the co-founder or is the founder of Be Fit Food, which is a home delivery service for healthy food. But she got her break, Kate, please, I'm going to read this out. 6 things Kate Save wishes she knew before she started Be Fit Food, and then in brackets it says, and went on Shark Tank. Would you like to take
Shark
up the
Tank?
slack? What? Would you like to take up the slack, Kate, on Shark Tank and how you got on to establishing and being the managing overall panacea and director of Be Fit Food, please?
Sorry, is this American Shark Tank or Australian?
Australian.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I'll take you back. In my early childhood, from 2 to 20, I was hospitalised all the time, these horrible tummy aches. They couldn't work out what was wrong with me. My granddad took me to appointments and scans until I was 8. He died. My parents were too busy. They had their own sort of businesses they were running, and nobody could work out what was wrong with me. So whenever I got sick, they'd just send me to my grandparents' house for 1 to 2 weeks until I recovered again. And it wasn't until I was 20, driving to uni every day, or 19, when something happened. I got this attack in my tummy. I'd end up in hospital under pethidine and knocked out, wake up until the pain went away. And I knew that it had something to do with food, but I couldn't work it out. And the doctors had said to me, oh, it's lactose intolerance, it's something you're eating. And the other doctors just thought I was crazy, whereas mum and dad went, she's an A+ student, why would she want to get out of school? Why would she, all these things. So I became really interested in nutrition as a teenager, trying to work out what was, poisoning my gut or making me sick. And it turned out, after I was working my 7 casual jobs, I'd come back from working in the casino one night and 7 or 8 a.m. in the morning, gone in for my scans, woken up at 3 p.m. the next day, 7 voicemail messages on mum and dad's answering machine saying, you need to come back in, it's urgent, it's urgent. So they think they found a tumour in my gut. And being very naive and 19 at the time, they wanted to do emergency surgery, and I sort of told the doctor, I'm busy actually, it's my birthday next weekend. I was doing an inside sport modelling competition as well, and I said, if you're going to hack up my gut, I'm going to do this first, otherwise I'll never wear bathers again. And he sort of laughed and said, no, you've got to do the surgery. And I said, I've waited 18 years, so naively I walked away and had my 20th birthday and did this competition, came runner-up, and actually the night of my birthday in Rye at the pizza restaurant, I'd had this beautiful Italian meal that sent me to hospital. So I ended up having the surgery that week, and 90% chance of survival. Mum and dad talk about the 10% chance of death, and it ended up being benign, thank heavens, but horrific surgery, electric bed to sit up. The Bali bombings actually happened on the night of my birthday when I was in hospital, lowest moment of my life, and I decided I wanted to help other people with their diet and food, navigating their health, so that the wrong things weren't being blamed. So I knew that good food was good for me, and I knew that it wasn't food that was making me sick. Food made me well. And that's when I went on to become a dietitian, exercise physiologist and diabetes educator, a lot of uni. And then my clients kept saying to me, after I'd seen about 10,000 clients, if only you came home and cooked and made the food, I'd be able to stick to it and I could lose all the weight and I'd feel better. And when you hear that thousands of times, you start to go, it's not that people don't know what to eat. They actually need the tool to get started. They need the flint that, gets them started. And people have good intentions, but it's very rare that they actually can follow through and, live the rest of their life healthy.
So off the top of your head, what that says, the 6 things that you wish you knew, or have you just explained some of them?
No. The things, so I started the home delivered meals company, so literally myself. Be Fit Food,
Yep.
yeah.
So you were the originator before everything else.
Yes.
That's
so with a weight loss surgeon, a bariatric surgeon, so I worked in his clinic for years, and they were putting people on bars and shakes diets, synthetic supplements. I totally disagreed with it. If you were going to give someone surgery to reduce their weight, why wouldn't you teach them how to eat first and see if they stood a chance before you did the surgery that could end up being fatal in some people's cases or causing lifelong sort of disabilities, malabsorption, and very poor eating habits and poor role modelling as well for their kids and families. And having 2 daughters, seeing in my career, lots of teenagers with eating disorders. I did not want to go down the path of really working with patients that were going for surgery that didn't understand food. So we created these meals. The surgeon said to me, if you're going to give people food instead of supplements, then you need to cook the food. So I hired a chef and a team of 5. We got a little commercial kitchen. It wasn't actually, it was a fish and chip shop we bought for $1 in Somerville, turned it into a kitchen, started making food, ran out of money, and that's when I thought, I know where you get money from. You go on that TV show, Shark Tank, I've seen it.
Yeah, so I was just going to ask you how Shark Tank, so just that's fascinating. So so there's a hell of a lot of people go on Shark Tank, and very few people get a commercial deal or succeed by turning it into something that is fiscally advantageous, and you were one of the 2.
100 episodes,
One of
50
3.
that got deals on air, and 1 of 3 that actually got some money. And that
And you're
process,
one of the 3.
Yeah.
So you went in with a purpose on Shark Tank. Just for anyone who hasn't watched the show, it's a spiel to 5 members, is it?
Yes,
Or 6? Yeah, 5 members.
judges,
So what
yes.
did you ask? So what did you ask for? And did you get what you asked for? Did you exceed it, or what was that process like?
I actually watched every episode ever made for 3 months before going on the show. And the first
Very
time I
good.
pulled out because they destroy your career if you don't get
Know
it
what you're
right
talking
and
about.
if you don't know your numbers. So the surgeon got warned, don't go on the show. They will tear you to shreds. So he didn't go on. He did fly up with me. And then the second time around when I did go the whole way through with Shark Tank, walk through the doors, the 5 judges there, you've got a 1-minute pitch. So you're told. You stand there. You give your 1-minute pitch. 2 hours and 45 minutes later, they didn't tell me they'd still be questioning me, and it could all go to national air, and they're waiting for you to stuff up. No breaks, no notes, no can I ask a friend, no can I look this up on paper. You need to know it. So thank God I studied. And yeah, we got a deal offered by Janine Ellis and Steve Baxter, and I called the surgeon out at the end because I thought if we got this deal and he's a co-director, we need to agree on this and on the spot. So I thought. So we agreed to go with Janine Ellis, and I thought, when we got the photo, Janine Ellis Boost Juice, yeah. And lots of things, salsas and Chibos and, yeah. all
Is
of
she
that.
still involved in your business?
She was until earlier this year.
Did you have to buy her out?
I did, yes, yep. So I thought we'd walk out of Shark Tank with a big fat check, like one of the ones you see on TV. And I thought, how am I going to get it home on the plane? And, what do we do with it? Where do we change it in? There was no check. And I thought, they must send it in the mail. Maybe it's a little check, not a big check. No check. So months went past. We didn't hear a thing, and had the first due diligence meeting. I didn't know what that was because I'd never tried to fundraise before. And due diligence did not go well. So we didn't get it. And I just thought, I'm not going to keep going back
Due
until we get
diligence
it.
with who?
Janine Ellis.
So you had a meeting with her after the
A
meeting?
couple of months afterwards.
So it was a handshake
And
agreement
hang
on
Was she
air.
part of your business then?
No, so it hadn't even gone to air. So as you guys would know,
Oh, I
things
see.
don't always go to air. And so they told us it would go to air. It was filmed in November. They said it would go to air in January, then February, March, April, May, June. And we thought, you know what, this is never going to happen. I'd told my team, I'd ramped up production that we're going to go on TV, we're going to sell all this food, you've all got to be ready. And they thought I was lying. They're like, did you even film this Shark Tank thing? We didn't get any money. We kept getting told due diligence was not going to happen. They weren't interested. It finally goes to air August 15th, 2017, so 5 years ago pretty much this week. And we start watching the Google Analytics, and it goes from 30 people on the website, which is probably the most we'd ever had. So we're only doing about 30 orders a week back then, to 10,000, 50,000, 60,000 people all trying to order at once. And our website broke, and it broke every 4 minutes for about 6 weeks. I went into work the next morning to see how many orders we had because everything was pretty manual there, printing off pieces of paper. There was a kilometre-long line down Mornington Tyre Road of people that had driven interstate from all over the country to pick up their box of rapid weight loss food that I'd apparently sold on TV last night. So I went on with this 5 kilos in 2 weeks weight loss, and one of the lessons is Shark Tank does ramp up your business and you never know how much. And we prepared what I thought was 800 boxes of food, so 800 rapid weight loss packs. My production manager, excuse my language, said, I thought you were full of shit and I only made 200. And within the first 5 minutes, by 9:05 that morning, there wasn't one meal left in the building, and we had hundreds, 2,500 people trying to collect their food.
Did you say that this person who was your partner, what was her name?
Janine Ellis.
Yeah.
She put money in?
She hadn't at this stage,
No.
and she still hadn't then.
No, and then you bought her out. Was this acrimony? Are you still friend?
Yes,
this
we're
a
friendly.
harmonious.
We're friendly. Yes. So we're 5 years later.
Yes,
so after it went to air and she saw the big demand, obviously, she said, okay, I'm happy to put my money in now. So she put her money in.
Hang on, but the promise was made on the show.
It was a handshake deal.
9 months earlier, but then due diligence has to go through because it's actually their money that they're putting in. It's not the show's money. So that's where all the deals fall down. So out of the 100 episodes, 50 that got deals on air, only 3 of us ever saw $1.
Really?
Yes, because due diligence means that it's never worth... Yeah, they
Do you
never
know-
put their money in.
Do you know what the other 3 are, just out of curiosity?
I only from the catch-up Shark Tanks, like Where Are They Now shows.
yeah.
So I've watched a couple of those, and it looks like they did get the deal because we got a Where Are They Now episode. So I'm assuming they're the other 2. So yeah, one was Fly Baby or something like that, or like a crib thing that you put on a plane.
So
there you go.
Kate, so you had to, you got all these orders, and then you suddenly had to source food and suppliers and
Staff was the biggest thing, actually. I had a
where
team
do you
of
get
5.
the food? And
Well, I had to get 63 staff in 4 weeks to actually make the food. So the staff was a disaster.
So what do you put? So what is a Be Fit food package consist of?
3 meals a day, so breakfast, lunch, dinner, and 2 protein snacks a day.
And so what sort of food? Meat? Or chicken?
Everything. So you can have
So
a
where
whole
do you
meal
get-
beef
so
lasagna.
did you suddenly have to source suppliers and people to provide the raw ingredients for you to pack the food? How did you?
So we already had our supplies because we were making roughly up to 1,500 meals a week, but we went to making 30,000 meals a week. So it was just a case of our little fish and chip shop now had a pulse because it had 60 people in it instead of 5. And our suppliers,
Yes.
that were supplying us,
have to
I
get
don't know,
bigger
10
premises?
kilos of meat. Yeah, we did. So I actually...
How many meals do you prepare a week?
About 30,000 a week
Holy
still.
mackerel!
Yeah.
How much is a meal? It varies. Does
Oh,
it?
yeah, $14.95.
And you buy these online?
Yes.
Everything's done online.
Everything's online.
No outlets.
We do have a little outlet in Mornington, just where our head office is there.
Now, can I ask you, what's a point of difference with your food? Now, I started off this interview saying how I experimented for a couple of months, and his lordship over here, he does the same. We go to buy the same type of food. And what's the point of difference between the stuff I was buying and yours?
So we put 4 to 12 different vegetables in every meal to help heal the gut and use all these different living things in the plant-based foods that we don't know makes it living. You can't make a pen living or a chair living, but that vegetable is living. So we use a good variety of those because we know you'll get your vitamins and minerals. They're all high protein, so a minimum of 20 grams of protein in a meal.
So what
They're all low
do
carb.
you tell me the vegetables?
What could be in there, or any of the 12 different vegetables. So even, in our bolognese, it'd be like any good mum at home grates in all the vegetables. So you'll have your zucchini, your carrot, your onions, your tomatoes, your garlic, and then probably sneak in a bit of broccoli stem or something like that.
Now, you mentioned about frozen and chill before.
Yes.
So with your stuff, what's the shelf life?
12 months, so we never waste any food. There
Hang
is
on,
no
you
waste.
if you made a product, a meal, it will last 12 months.
12 months. And
How do you make a product last 12 months?
freeze it?
Put it in the freezer.
Yeah. Yep. So freezing preserves
So is it cooked
the
before?
DNA of
If I was to
dinosaurs.
buy it off you,
Yes.
is it cooked?
Yes, it's all fully cooked. All fully
And
cooked.
then you freeze it, do you?
Yes. So we cook every day. We cook 5 days of the week. We snap freeze it. We send it out frozen. So you then don't need to be home when it arrives because it's not going to go off, and put it in your freezer or stick it straight in the fridge if you're going to eat it over the next couple of days.
So you said 2 weeks was what? Five. Your weight loss was 5 kilos. Is that
5.89 kilos. So 5.9 kilos in 2 weeks on average. So we looked at 10 customers that had type 2 diabetes, the average weight loss that they got, and the key thing for us is actually 90% of their diabetes went to remission.
And that was purely based on nutrition, no other form of exercise or
No
anything like that. That was
exercise.
just purely breakfast, lunch and dinner nutrition for 2 weeks. That was what it was. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
I don't want to get down to the mercenary basic. Are you saying, Kate, that you make 30,000 meals a day, a week?
A week.
A week? And they're $15 a meal.
If you pay full price, but if
Well,
you buy
no,
them in a
that's just-
program,
yeah.
it's a bit cheaper. Yeah.
That
It's a big business now. Yeah. It's a bit of
that-
it's a business.
That's, to me, is that a $23 million a year business?
Not quite. No.
What have I multiplied wrong by that?
Or she could get
because-
discounts.
Yeah.
No,
there's,
I'm just
there's
saying.
discounts in there.
Okay.
So
Bit of tax.
That's $450,000.
it's in the millions. I can tell you that it's in the millions.
So
Yes.
let me ask you, what was the business like during COVID, where everyone was predominantly at home and you couldn't, people still had to go to the supermarket? Was business a bit more ramping up, or
So our
what was it?
business was the best just pre-COVID, where we actually saw everyone talking about science, talking about health, and going on this wellness trajectory. When COVID happened, what we found is all of our customers then started going, well, there's no weddings, there's no going to the beach, there's no going on holidays, we're only locked down, we're going to eat ourselves to death or drink ourselves to death. We're not going to worry about getting the weight off. Their priority wasn't getting better health through COVID. It was actually Uber Eats and cheese platters, and on the news they were drinking wine when they were doing the news and those sorts of things. So COVID didn't work for us like it did for lots of other meal businesses, but coming out of COVID now we're seeing this huge turnaround in people's lifestyles and behaviours because they've got the COVID kilos they want to get off. And we just launched in Woolies, as I mentioned to Don, 786 stores last month. So that's going to be different.
Why is
for
there a
us.
market? Why is there a market for your product?
Why is there a market? Because we are Australia's first scientifically formulated doctor and dietitian designed program for health improvement. You only eat our food, if you want to improve your health. If you don't care about your health, you wouldn't bother eating a whole beef lasagna. You'd get
I was getting
different
more to
lasagna.
the point. Is society becoming lazier and not growing up as a youngster? Parents grew their own vegetables in the garden, cooked their own meals and did all this, which is time consuming.
Yes.
Are we becoming very lazy as a society? Hence, there's a niche for your product.
I do agree with that. We are so time poor. But on the flip side of that, we're also being sold supplements 24/7 and these quick fixes. So people are going for these bars and shakes and things that they think are going to change their life, or injections with the different medications and things like that, or weight loss surgery. They're using that pretty early on when they could be just pursuing food. And I mean, people work longer hours, they work multiple jobs, those sorts of things. So to be in the garden growing their food and preparing, and we've even lost the skill set for cooking to a certain extent.
So
Getting to a business thing, there's a lot of young people like yourself who come up with terrific ideas. The biggest thing, and again I found when I started my business, was a lack of funding. Is this where Janine Ellis came in? You had the idea, you just didn't have the funds to
Yes.
expand your business?
That's exactly it. So I knew that our business wasn't going to be self-sustaining without getting some funds for inventory. And I think the biggest thing for us is being able to hold this variety of 70 different products so that when people do order, we can deliver that within the week. So a lot of money goes into that. And as you'd appreciate, marketing, we're no light and easy, we're no you
Okay,
food.
so
Yep.
can I ask you, for those young people out there that have got a business idea, you've got a backer, you own the intellectual property and whatever
Yes.
else. What percentage of the business would you give to a backer? Somebody that came along with the money, you've got the idea, how would you work a deal there? How would you get the balance from your experience?
Yeah, look, I think at the end of the day, it's the business smarts. So going on Shark Tank for me, yes, the money was important, but actually someone who knows how to commercialise the product and make money out of it. So someone who understands what, cash is king. And we didn't understand that because we didn't have the size or the volume or the scale to worry about it as much, because you sell one product, you know what that costs you. But when you're selling thousands of products, then you've got bigger overheads, you've got more staff, you're putting money into marketing. All of a sudden those things don't balance out anymore, and then you've got staff taking sick leave. Well, that wasn't accounted for in the budget, and particularly with COVID, when you've got your whole team using their full 10 days of leave, who put that in the budget before? Because
yeah, but getting back to my question, what percentage do you give to an investor?
Oh,
Well, by negotiation.
I think it's
10?
a strategic investor is worth everything, because a strategic investor will do the introductions that makes your business grow. So if it's just money, I don't think it's worth much. If it's a strategic investor who understands your vision, where you're going, what you're doing, and can take you on that path, then I think you give them half.
So you have some competition. There's other companies out there doing all this, and they've suddenly ramped up, maybe due to your success, or did you start due to their success? Which came first? What's the other main ones?
There's
Jenny
My
Craig.
Muscle Chef, Jenny Craig, Light and Easy, You Foods,
So that's
all of them.
So that's,
And,
yeah. So
they
that's what I
spend
wanted to,
20 million a
yeah.
year on their marketing.
So that's what I wanted to ask. So I'm not versed in any food or anything like that. I try and cook from home from what I can, from nothing, because I'm an idiot when it comes to cooking. All I see on television though is Jenny Craig. So you got your predominant success from Shark Tank because of all the popular demand for when it aired. So what do you do now with your business up and running in terms of advertisement, or to reach out to the people to know? Because I'm going to be totally honest, I've never seen an advertisement for Be Fit Food.
Yeah.
So what's the process? How do people see the product and then get involved?
The big thing for us, I guess, is word of mouth, because if people actually lose the 5 kilos in 2 weeks, they tell other people. So that word of mouth is important. But our niche is also talking to health professionals, because we're doctors and dietitians on the team. We're constantly reaching out to other dietitians, other doctors, and telling them that we exist, so they can put a person on our program before they put them on diabetes medication or high blood pressure or high cholesterol medication. So we know that we actually own the trademark food as the first medicine, that food will actually help with the cure or help with the prevention. So yes, you do need medicine at some point if you can't reverse the condition, but if you don't use food first, the medicine will never work, and you'll keep increasing the dose, and you'll die from the medicine and all the side effects at some point in time as it damages your liver, your kidneys, your brain, whatever it's doing. It is a slow poison, but if you can put the food in as the first medicine, then the medication can actually do its job without having to go to these doses that become dangerous long term.
So you're not going to do, and this is the only other example I know, but the Advanced Hair Studios of Warney were showing 8 months before, and he had no hair, and then 8 months later he's got the new head of hair. You don't want to do all that, the show the 2 weeks, someone before and after and everything like that. You'd much rather stick to word of mouth and everything like that.
Oh, would love
Which
to,
is fair
but
enough.
even trying to get on TV for a couple of minutes, a minute on an ad or something like that, $200,000, it's not within our budget. It's just so out of our budget, and I guess we've been lucky to get a lot of really good PR that has sort of helped, but at the end of the day, we don't have that investment. We're self-funded, so there's no venture capitalists. We bought Janine out. There's, my vision is to change the health of Australia one bite at a time, and I know that if anybody puts their hand up, says, I'll do the program with you, they will succeed. So we give free dietitian consults as well. So my dietitians will see anybody who wants to do the program at no cost, because we know that counselling and that guidance is actually the key to success. The food's the tool that gets them started, but the education is the part that's going to keep them on that journey to keep the weight off.
And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Let's go business as well.
Sorry, talking about education, when I do go out for a coffee, I sit and watch. I cannot believe how decadent our society is. Women look disgusting.
And men.
I'm just going to say,
Everyone
women look
then.
Have you looked in a mirror
disgusting
recently?
in their tights. I cannot, And men with their guts, I cannot believe what I see. Now, I don't think you're going to rectify that problem, but why has society gone down this road? Is it food?
It's food and lifestyle. So exercise should be enjoyable, right? And this is what we tell our customers, that what you eat will change your weight, not how much you move. But if you don't move, you won't be happy in your body, you won't stimulate all the positive chemicals and everything else. And if you don't move, then you're not going to survive long anyway, because your body needs that for circulation. But what you put in your mouth is the shape that you end up as. And
that's why you look like a dick, Don. Sorry.
So you have to think about what you eat and move every day to stay healthy. But the movement's about bigger picture health and brain health and physical health. But
so is it too much processed type food? Sugar, is that a problem?
It's the white foods and it's the high carb diet. So our bodies don't need carbs whatsoever. You can take all the carbs out and you will be perfectly fine. What it does need is those plant-based foods, the veggies, the meat, those sorts of natural foods. So you can remove all the carbohydrate, live a very healthy life. But when you say low carb, people start thinking paleo and eating, bars of butter and bacon.
So as your success grows, do you find companies try and sell you their product to put in your packages? Like, do you have? I noticed that they said in order to stop climate change, we should get rid of beef and the flatulence, and then they said we should be eating insects and bugs. And do you have people come from all left field and say, why don't you put a selection of bugs and insects in here that we've, or kale or all the buzz foods, and people try and sell their product to you to include in your diet packages?
They do, but do you know the biggest sort of dictator of what goes in the food are the customers? The customers are the loudest. They will tell us, we want vegan this, vegetarian this, we want soy-free this, we want more meals like the lasagna or the meatballs because that's their favourite. We want less of the trio or green soup, or we want more fish, more salmon, those sorts of things. So the customers will often dictate what we're making.
But shouldn't you be dictating to them because you're the knowledgeable one? We
educate them. So then I guess our goal is actually if they're educated from, we're on a daily basis, we're sort of sending out all different comms and those sorts of things. If they're educated, they'll be asking for things that fit within our range and fit within our philosophy. So we've got really strict criteria: no added sugar, the high protein, low carb, no artificial colours and flavours, those sorts of things. But if they're not educated, they will ask.
To Don's point, you have to stick to the integrity of your product rather than just making $1 out of what they want.
That's exactly.
You have to tell them, we're not giving you this because
and
that's not in our philosophy.
Yeah, with the
and then
vegan
they say, we'll
food.
go somewhere else. You say, we'll go somewhere else.
Yeah.
You mentioned there about no sugar.
Yeah.
When cholesterol tablets were developed and prescribed in the early 50s, an Englishman was overruled. He said the biggest problem will be sugar going forward. Is sugar the biggest problem we've got in our diet?
It's the hidden sugar. It is the hidden sugar because people will look at a label and say there's no sugar in this, but they haven't looked at all the words that end in OSE. So the O's, dextrose, maltose, glucose, fructose, those sorts of things, sucrose. So it's the hidden sugar, and it's often just the carbohydrate that's in there for energy. So we all think carbohydrates are fuel and they give us energy, but actually we're not moving. We don't need the fuel. We need foods that repair the body and nourish the body, not fuel. So if you want fuel, you can get that anywhere.
So you look at the label when you buy and go through that, then make your purchase. Is that right? And you look for what you're saying on the label.
The ingredients list, I always think the ingredients list you look at first, because the top 3 ingredients are going to be what the product's predominantly made up of. And if you pick up a can of Coke and you can't read the first 3 ingredients, then you know that you're probably not eating the right or drinking the right thing there. But if the top 3 ingredients are a vegetable or plant-based food or a meat or something like that, there's a very good chance you've got quite a natural product. And then checking for all these different, sugar as an ingredient in its different forms. And then the nutrition information panel, I've got a rule of a carb to protein ratio of 1:1. So what that means is if you pick up a yogurt and the carbs are 30 and the protein's 5, that's bad because that's a 6:1
Hang
ratio.
on, just say that again. What?
Carbohydrate
Yep.
to protein,
Yes.
1:1 rule. So if you're looking on a label of a yogurt, the carbohydrates are 30 and the protein's 5, that means you've got 6 times the amount of carbohydrate
That's
compared
sugar.
to protein, yes. So I would pick up a yogurt that has the carbs at 10 and the protein at 10, or the carbs at 5 and the protein at 5.
Okay.
Then that way the body's got a better chance of firstly being able to process it. Secondly, you're putting protein in that repairs the muscles and all the cells in the body, and you're not putting this excess carbohydrate in that you need to run off. If you're playing footy, that's great if you're really, really active. But if you're not active, there's no place for these excess carbohydrates, and they're the ones that convert to sugar that then cause fatty liver that then gets stored around the body and cause heart disease and type 2 diabetes. And 1 person every 4 minutes develops diabetes in Australia, 1 person every 20 seconds in America, and 1 person every 7 seconds in the world dies of diabetes.
Really?
So just you
What
going
was
to
that?
Yeah.
What did you say then?
1 person every 4 minutes gets diabetes in Australia, 1 person every 20 seconds in America, and 1 person every 7 seconds dies around the world because of diabetes.
And as diabetes is not brought on, that's hereditary, is it? It's not brought on from diet, is it?
Brought on from diet predominantly. So
Predominantly.
type
Have to be,
1
wouldn't it?
diabetes is the hereditary one, but type 2 diabetes is the one that is now a much bigger epidemic than COVID, but it's just not getting the airtime.
Yeah, I know an extremely fit. In fact, I'll mention her name to you, but I won't mention it. Extremely fit woman, and she's got diabetes. And
Type 1 though?
Yeah, what type?
Which did she develop early on? Because early onset diabetes or type 1 diabetes is hereditary, but that's a very minute percentage of the population. The majority is type 2 diabetes.
can be regulated by diet.
Completely reversed. You can reverse type 2 diabetes with diet.
And should we, without mentioning any brand names, should we be sceptical of you see all these shake. There's an ad on the television at the minute that drives me mad because they keep playing it. Should we be just not have a knee-jerk reaction to all the ads that come on about shakes and diets, and we should just be very sceptical of all those, should we?
Yeah, the key thing would be if it's not real food and you can't chew it, don't eat it. Like you need to use the muscles in your mouth. You need to get the gut moving. Like you need to exercise your insides. So if you just drink your calories, you're not working out your internal muscles and they'll stop working. So you've got to make the whole body work out, not just the outside.
So we've spoken a lot about nutrition, but the man on my right is drinking something quite strange, but hydration is something that I want to touch on. So we've obviously spoken a lot about food, but obviously you have to drink. So if you're getting bored of water, what are the alternatives? Does the company do anything in terms of smoothies or tea, or I don't know what that is?
I think it's
What is that? Electrolytes.
Electrolytes and
What
all
are
that
you
stuff.
drinking first of all? Just out of curiosity.
This is meant to be a supplement for greens. I don't know. Look, it's probably just the placebo effect. Is that the
Yeah, that's what it's
placebo,
called.
Doc? Barney? Means that if you think it's doing you good, it is doing you good, whether it is or not. That's meant to be a green substitute of purulina or spirulina.
As long as you're not replacing a meal with bars and shakes or supplements, then those things fit in that 10%.
Yep.
But
No, not
90% of what
replacing that.
you eat should be real whole food, because the vitamins and minerals and the things that we extract from food, we think they're important, but we're starting to find out they're actually not the important parts. The important part is the food in its full form where it interacts with all the other components in that food. So it's not just the vitamin that we isolate, it's the environment that that food is in its full form that's actually far more important and makes it far more digestible and usable for the human body too.
So can you say something that, could you recommend something that complements water? If you drink water every day, but sometimes you get sick of it, what is the next best alternative?
Put a squeeze of lemon or citrus in it, or put cucumber in it, or get a tea bag and put tea in it. Get any of the different herbal teas. Not if you're using some of the, say, your chamomiles or your ginger or the teas that are not black teas. So black teas are a diuretic, but your herbal based teas aren't. So that'll just flavour the water. So you can get your apple and raspberry teas to flavour your water, those sorts of things.
Well, so what about? Hang on. So what about when it comes to the product itself? Now, you live on the peninsula as I do. I shop around. I find the more I pay for my vegetables in certain places, the better they are.
Yes.
Is that a true indication of the quality of the food that you get or buying as far as your plant-based foods?
Specifically to the peninsula, I would say, because we have a lot of farms and a lot of people do grow their produce down there, if those sorts of things are possibly going to be better on the peninsula, because we do grow a lot of produce there.
That's farm, you know, at the farm gate, but I'm talking about the shop. Now, I should imagine there are shops in the suburban area as well. So is it, I found one place that's very expensive, but the quality or the taste is there. So in suburbia, no, it's not organic.
Oh,
so would that be a rule of thumb in suburbia as well? There would be better shops than others. In other words, they buy them cheaper at the market, vegetables cheaper at the market.
You want to get them as fresh as you can, and that's probably the key. They're going to taste good when they're fresh. So if people are going to those markets to buy the produce to bring back to their store on a daily basis, and I know a lot of places on the peninsula do that. You see their trucks arrive every morning. They've come from the farmers markets. That produce, I mean, generally if it looks good, it probably, not always, but if it does look fresh and it feels fresh and it tastes fresh, it probably is fresh. You know, when you get apples out the back of one of the big commercial supermarkets and, you know, they're soggy, they've got no flavour, they're like mush because they've been practically frozen and those sorts of things. So I think, taste is probably a really good measure on the freshness.
Now, Don and Max and anyone else, is that it? Is there
Well, I'm going to conduct this conversation off air because you're very bored and sick of it and you want to wind it up. But there's a lot more I could ask.
Not at all.
Kate.
That is just a ridiculous thing to say, Don. We can end up going round in circles and asking Kate the same things, and she gives the same answers and diplomatically in a different form so that it doesn't sound repetitive. I'm not sure what else you could ask her. If you can think of anything sensible to ask her, that's fine. I don't eat fruit at all. I hate fruit. Is that deleterious to my health?
How are your bowels?
Pardon?
How are your bowels?
There's a joke in there about
because
full of shit.
I take
Metamucil or something.
They're psyllium husks. Psyllium husks are good.
He's got his plumber on speed dial, if that helps.
What do you call it that makes you regular... Brandish sort of stuff, Doc. Barney, I take that and put it in that. That's in fact some of that's in that drink I'm drinking now, but I hate fruit and I don't eat it.
Do you eat capsicum,
I
tomatoes,
eat anything, vegetables,
broccoli? So your vitamin
vegetables
C.
I love, but I hate fruit.
Not only does he eat it, he inhales
If you brought a
it.
banana in here, I'd have to ask you to leave. I can't stand it.
Vegetables are key. Fruit
Well,
doesn't
that's
matter
correct.
as much.
So Don and Max, and then as I said, anyone else. Now
It's good to know
had
about
Professor.
your bowel.
We had I'll show
Can you share a bit more later?
I can share the aroma with you
Yeah,
later
okay.
on, Don. We had Professor
fair dinkum.
Paul Taylor in here, who I've been listening to this, and you, Kate, and you are obviously very eminent people in your own field, and you are so similar in what you said about things, but you spoke on different levels, and so that makes us feel as though we're doing a community service, Don, by people who listen to this.
I think we've got it. I think
By
people have got
who
to be
listen to
educated.
this, If we can't educate people how to live a better life and have some wellness in their life by having people like Kate Save in, and we had the professor in the other week, we really appreciate you coming in. And Be Fit Food is available. How do we do that?
Online on our website, befitfood.com.au.
And
Any
I know
social
I did a rough
pages?
calculation,
Yes.
but you said
Be
you're
Fit
doing
Food
30,000 meals a
Wait for him to
week.
stop.
No, $15 a meal, and I multiplied that by 52 weeks in the year, Barney. That worked out to 24 million a year.
And that's why you
turnover.
played
Not
football.
quite there
No,
yet,
no,
but
I understand that because we discount them all. But this what?
There's a few overheads in there.
Yeah.
I know. I said great. That's a turnover. I'm not talking about that's what you make. Anyhow.
So what are the
Kate,
socials? Sorry, just quickly. What are the socials, Kate?
Instagram, BeFitFood Australia, and Facebook, BeFitFood, and my LinkedIn, Kate Save.
Don, is that it?
Yes, that's
Right.
it. Sam, hit the button.
Kate Save, thank you very much for appearing on or coming on You Cannot Be Serious.
Thank you.